Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 30th episode of Tales of Tamriel. It's hard to believe that we are over the hill, as it were. 30 episodes in. Anyway, I am your not-so-humble host, Aggelos, and with me this evening, she who informed me that it isn't really humble to say that you are humble, Thais. How are you doing today, my dear?
I was wondering why you added in your not-so-humble host. I'm fabulous today. Fabulous.
Are you humble?
Extremely.
That's right. Okay. Also joining us this evening, the man who is finally seeing the glorious power of the Templar, Deltia of Deltia's Gaming. How are you doing today, good sir?
Really good. Glad to be back, and get ready to play the drinking game.
I have my drink right here, and you'll have to let me know every time that you die. It's time for the Tales of Tamriel drinking game, where you have to take a drink every single time Deltia dies on the stream, and he's playing a Templar, so hopefully we can make it through an entire show without getting wasted. Let's get started. First up on game news, Battlemaster Corner. This is Deltia's foray. Now I looked at this one. The first one here is something called a Agile Tiger Tank. Apparently they're just doing it because they're a Khajiit. Now, Deltia, have you looked at this build at all?
I did, but I forgot what was in it. Can you refresh my memory?
Sure. Okay, so pretty much it's a Templar, but what they're doing is they're utilizing a bow and they're dual wielding, but they're also doing a little bit of sword and board whenever they have to actually do a tank. So it looks like they're doing a three-way kind of build, which is a little different. But what they're kind of doing with this is I think they're using Hissbark for the poison resist and the dodge, and they're wearing full leather set. So it's a leather and maybe a little bit of heavy armor mixed in with it. So I guess what they're trying to do is with Hissbark, with the 200 dodge rating and the armor elude, I guess it is, that adds more of a dodge rating. They're kind of go with a dodge tank out of thing, so they're making a Templar with dodging.
Okay. So I use Hissbark on Deltia for tanking, which is probably the best tanking set. So I agree with them on that. I do not agree about using all medium. The passives for heavy are so important for the healing, getting you back up fully, that I just can't see doing that. With the sacrificing what you are to get maybe a little bit more dodge chance, because if you're doing high-end content, they're going to hit you. So whether or not they hit you, they're going to hit you. You can't avoid everything. You need to have the armor and be able to get healed back up right away. Yeah, stamina is important, but Templars are probably in my opinion, the best at stamina regeneration naturally with some of the abilities and so forth. So I would go heavy and light, because you need that light to do self-heals when your healers can't get up. But it's interesting. I mean, you can't, unless there's something I don't know, you can't equip 3 weapons at a time. So you need to pick one. You have to have a sword and shield. I mean, what are you doing? You can't switch back and forth whenever it's convenient, So I don't know what they meant by that, but
It's kind of weird with... Apparently the tanking skills are secondary, sword and board, but bow is their normal, but their primary is dual wield. So it looks like what they were doing is they kind of created a little bit of a bastardized build, because it looks like it's built entirely for dual wielding. Medium armor, all that stuff is great for dual wield, but it looks like what they then did was tried to bastardize a little bit. Well, if I just drop one thing and throw a shield on, like pre-plan it before I go into a fight, I can make kind of like a dodge tank.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the best dodge tank is with Cinder Storms and using the Dragonite because of the Cinder Storms Ash Cloud morph, which gets a 30% miss chance. Now you could do all those things he's doing on top of that, have a 30% miss chance. No one's going to hit you.
Well, here's something that's kind of interesting. Since you're playing a Templar, one of the things they're doing, let's just talk about, they're doing their bow and their dual wielding you know, whatever. But that doesn't seem like even the title of what their thing is, Agile Tiger Tank. Those two don't even fall into a tanking build. So let's just talk a little bit about their tanking build here. For their sword and board, first off, they have Explosive Charge, which is the closer attack from the Templar Adric Spear line. Thankfully, they're playing a Templar, so I have a little bit of knowledge on this. It's kind of neat because what it does is it will allow you to charge just like Critical Rush or Critical Charge, whichever morph you picked, except for it's not a 100% chance of critical. However, Explosive Charge actually does like a little bit of an AoE wherever you hit to damage enemies around it, and it does stun and interrupt only if the enemy is casting. So it doesn't really work as a viable anytime CC. It only works as a, oh, they're casting, let me charge to them, and it interrupts and stuns them. They of course have Puncturing Strikes with the Biting Jabs morph, which honestly, if you're just going straight DPS, you know, I went with Puncturing Sweep for the heals, which by the way is amazing. It's nice, does good damage, and it does just as much damage as Biting Jabs unless they're under low health, because when it goes under low health, it becomes like an execute ability, because it gets like 70% crit chance when they're under 40%, I guess, or under 20%. But they have that, and they have Ransack for, you know, the single stamina ability to hold hate. Here's something I thought was kind of interesting. Two abilities that would kind of add to their leather building. They're using Rune Focus, which puts a rune on the ground, which actually increases your armor and spell resistance. It's a Templar restoring light ability.
But no one's going to stand in it, and plus you're going to have to move, so that's pretty much mute.
Unless you're allowed to stand, you know, like the boss or ads don't move. Yeah, it is kind of, yeah. And they're also using Sun Shield, which, you know, helps with the, you know, it creates like a damage shield around you, which is, it honestly, before I thought it sucked because it actually stopped you from regaining magicka, but now it doesn't anymore. So it might actually be somewhat viable.
Yeah, but he's running all medium armor, and then he's using 4 magic abilities. Invasion is a better sword and board leap, if you will, because it stuns the target. If you're using 7 pieces of medium, you want to use stamina abilities, and it only stuns them if focus charge or whatever he had it morphed to if they're casting, so I don't like that. Also, where's his block mitigation coming from? You need defensive postures. You need it on your bar. I take Absorb Magicka because you're going to get casted. They're going to cast stuff for you and try one-shot you unless you have that as a tank. So Plessin has a, what, I think 8 to 10% gain on block. You need that. Now, the shield, I think Blazing Shield or Sun Shield morph, whatever it is, that's pretty cool. I like that. But what about a self-heal? Does he have Honor of the Dead? I mean, that's like... You can't expect your healers to always heal you. You're gonna have a one-off situation where you're gonna have to heal yourself. And I think Honor of the Dead is basically like a free spammable hero when you're low on health. That's how I'm building mine.
Yeah, Honor the Dead actually, if you cast on someone under 50%, it restores 20% of your base magicka, I think it is, over 6 seconds. So you actually regain the cost of the spell when you cast under 50%. Yeah, it's quite nice for that. I do like that one. Yeah, I don't see as a tank if you're doing that. Yeah, if you don't have a self heal of any kind, like even in my build, which is yes, it's a damage build. My heal is on my secondary bar, except for I do have Sweeping Strikes, which returns the damage deal in healing. And that hits 4 times for roughly 150 damage apiece. So, you know, I get 600 heal from using that plus doing damage. It's quite nice. But yeah, overall, it just kind of looked like a bastardized build to me.
Yeah, I don't know what they're wanting out of these builds. If they're looking for new, interesting things, I mean, you can't have 3 weapons. So I think it's mainly what they're looking for is the ride-up being funny and clever versus actually being functional. But I don't know. I stopped sending them stuff, so.
Well, I'm sure they probably got, you know, a crap ton of these. So, I don't know. I think they just randomly picked them. I don't know whether or not. And I think they also like to see builds that are not cookie. I don't think you'll ever see a...
Restore Destro.
Yeah, Destro Restro staff build on here. Oh yeah, full light armor, Destro staff, Resto staff.
That's original.
Yeah, they're like, no. I think they put a lot of weird stuff on here just to show you that you can do different stuff, and that's the nice thing about ESO is, and what I really like, you can do whatever you want and be somewhat viable. Could they solo do small? Yeah, they probably could. But that's the one thing I think is removed from modern games. Like Warcraft, for instance, removed all choice really, other than a little bit of utility choice as they've changed over the years. To the point where if you are a Retribution Paladin, you're the same as every other Retribution Paladin. You really can't mess it up. There's no choice to mess up your character. You are what you are, and then there may be an optional trait you should take, but it's hard to mess up your character in a way that you're going, well, I gotta respec or else I can't do it.
They're not unique in whatsoever way. That's the problem with those games, is that characters are not unique. Now, like, what intrigued me about this game is you got 5 buttons on your bar. Those 5 buttons could be one of 100 different things. Figure it out. So
Absolutely.
I still go into my Dragon Knight and go, I wonder if this, I'll stay up late at night going, I wonder if I have put Flames of Oblivion here and then Equilibrium and do this, if I could increase my DPS just a little. That's the things that make the game just never ending. It's so enjoyable.
It is, and I've been playing with different abilities, just like from taking your recommendation from my Sword Saint build, trying out this ability. Like, I would have probably never tried it if you never mentioned it to me. I try it, and then it gets me in a little bit of an adventurous mood, and I go, I wonder what this ability does, and I'll throw it on, and I'll play with it a little bit and go, man, I really, really like that. I mean, we were all talking about Repentance earlier. That wasn't even on my bar, but now I have it on my bar going, oh my goodness, how did I not have this on my bar?
It's awesome. Repentance is beast mode.
It is. And it's just, this game is all about exploration of your character and the world. And one of the best parts about exploration of your character is being able to make choices that plainly suck. And then going, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else.
That sucked.
Yeah, that sucked. Well, I've bought abilities where I'm like, oh, what was one? Arrow Spray. I got Arrow Spray on my Nightblade, thinking, oh, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be awesome. Do it. It's gonna do a lot of damage, and I used it, and I'm sitting there going, oh, great. It barely does anything. It snares for a little bit, and it costs like 4 times as much as everything else. That was like a wasted skill point, you know? Like, I'm sure it has some utility, but not for me. Not what I want to do. But, then I bought, like, Venom Arrow, and that thing, I just love it, so. Thais, you've been kind of quiet.
I don't have a Templar.
Okay, let's talk about Sorks then. Now, you asked me in game, you go, which morph should I take for the Surge? And I go, Critical Surge, the best ability in the game. She goes, crap, I took the other one.
I took the wrong one.
That was good.
And I am not about to spend all that money just to change one skill. I feel really bad though, because I imagine that it would be worth it. If you told me it really sounds worth it, but it's so much money to put out. And
that was so funny though. Don't ask before, ask after.
My problem was I had been looking for you for like 3 days, but every time I was online, you weren't, and I would look you up in the roster, and you would have just signed off like 10 minutes prior, and I'm like, crap.
You should have sent me a twit.
A twit.
Oh, that's right. I could have sent you a twit. I didn't even think of that.
Well, now you.
No, actually, there's a reason I didn't send you a twit. Because you were kind of bashing me on Twitter.
What?
You're so not my friend anymore on Twitter. I'm
Alright.
unfriending you. Or what's it called? Unfollowing you. There we go.
Alright, this kind of degraded into like high school drama, right? Really quickly. So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing about high school drama. Patch 1.4.0.
Oh my god.
Yes. Deltia, before we get into the patch notes, why don't you hit us with a little bit of drama?
Can I go on rant mode here?
Absolutely.
Okay, what's wrong with this game? This game is fantastic. Everyone calls me a damn fanboy. I get it. But I hate VR12. It takes an insanely long time to get to endgame, and the endgame's great. They're adding a new system in patch 1.4, Dragonstar Arena. You heard me talk about it forever. I love it. I saw Kipster streaming it. It looks like the real deal, hardcore for man or woman.
Can I implement or kind of shove something in here real quick?
Shove it in.
I am happy so far with Dragonstar because he sent me a message. Kipster sent me a message on our Facebook page going, "Oh my goodness, VR Dragonstar is hard, like Dark Souls hard."
Yeah.
Apparently they spent, he's like, yeah, you get 100 reses or something like that. We got to like phase 2 of 10 and died and used them all. Like, he's like, and we had another group, like, you know, and he's in like the number 2 or number 1 guild in ESO at the moment. And they're like, yeah, we had a group who's been doing this 10 hours a day for the past 2 days, and they've only made it to rank 5.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I was excited. So go ahead. I just wanted to throw that out there. You know, Dark Souls, hold hard. I loved it. Go ahead.
The problem is there are making 2 more VR ranks. So everyone just spent all that time and money redoing their gear if they're at endgame because all the sets changed. Now they're doing 2 more VR ranks. We need less leveling, not more. This game attracts a different type of person. It does. And that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's neither, essentially. Whatever. But people are still VR too because they like going around and doing all this stuff. So what you're doing now is separating the population again. It's inflated content, in my opinion, because you don't really have to develop anything except a few numbers and say, well, 10 million more experience to level to VR 14. That's inflated content. All this stuff you've made, Camlorn, Dragonstar Arena, Trials, 1% is playing it because 1% is at endgame. Now you're pushing that back any further. So all this content you're making and developing, no one's playing. The majority of your population is still picking flowers like I'm doing. And they don't have this game, like Wicked said on Elder Scrolls Off the Record. I just want to pick it up, no pressure, and have fun. That's what attracts players like this. You're making stuff that's not going to get played. It doesn't make sense. Make it less, not more. If gear is the factor or something, make it so you have to get something to get gear, not recraft every single piece. Go buy Drew Wax for 2.5 gold. I mean, it's super frustrating. I'm really, really upset about this. And one of my best gamer friends in game said, if they really do this, I'm done. I'm unsubbing. I'm not going to keep leveling up. I hit endgame. Games that basically raise end cap for a year usually always fail. And unfortunately, I do agree with them. It's an inflated way to make content. I hate this.
Okay, Thais, you had something to say?
I actually do have something to say that pertains to the gear. I am now VR2 going on. I'm about 2 inches away from VR3, but I can actually feel the difference while being in VR2 gear. And I went to make myself VR2 and VR3 gear last night, and it was so time-consuming and nerve-wracking that halfway through making all of this gear, I just said, the heck with it, and I dismantled all of it. Because it's not easy to have to be able to make gear for every VR level just so that you're not dying, so you're doing the correct amount of damage, making it so that you have to make even more gear per level, and when it takes so long to level, it doesn't seem fair.
I'm gonna preface this with what you just said. The way that we play and the way that we find ourselves being is the way the content was laid out. And I'm gonna say this because
am I incorrect?
No, you're very right. The way this game is laid out versus other games. This content that we're doing now, we're in Glenumbra, we're in the silver VR rank zone. This would have been the solo person's or duo person's endgame, you know, the leveling. But the problem is you're getting gear that is only a leveled up version of the normal quest rewards. They don't get the set bonuses that the content requires. Not requires, but makes it so it's bearable. So yeah, making full sets every VR rank is the best way to keep going and going. Honestly, I think you'd be fine just doing whatever because we duo, but solo, yeah. Yeah, and the crafted gear really, it's hard to pick up when crafted gear allows you to really expand your character out the way you want them to be. So yeah, I do agree with you. I actually like the crafting though. It's a personality thing that's different. Your personality doesn't like the number crunching. I do.
I love crafting. It's just I don't want to have to do it every month.
I enjoy the crafting as well. It's an interesting system.
Let me rephrase this. I agree with Thais, or I agree with Deltia, and I'll disagree with Thais for this one thing. I agree with Deltia at your level, Deltia, where you're at max level, where you're supposed to epic and legendary everything. Changing your gear every month it's a huge gold sink. It's a huge grind because you have to get all those tempering alloys and stuff like that. That's a pain. The leveling one I actually kind of like because I like getting gear and feeling stronger as I level up. And because of how long it does take to actually level in VR related content, I feel like I'm going to use. At lower levels, I created new gear for myself every like 5 or 10 levels, and that was fine. Now for VR, it doesn't bother me as much because it lasts longer.
I also wanted new gear because I'm tired of the way my character looks.
Okay, so you want to look prettier.
Oh, I did. I wanted a change of scenery.
Okay.
And it takes too long to have to sit down and figure everything out, which is why I really like, I can't remember who it was now, the one Gildy sent me the gear.
Oh, Brandon.
And I was ready, and I was like, awesome, I have my gear, I'm good.
Yeah, it was Brandon. Yeah, so now Delty and I were talking about this a little bit in pre-show, and this is my defense for ZeniMax. Coming from an IT background, a lot of this stuff was probably pre-programmed. I would say they were probably working on the coding for this when the game launched when the game launched in April. I think when they started realizing that the vision they had, and they already told us that they were wrong with the vision that they had for their end game. They had one idea, the players didn't like it, they're changing it. Well, here's the problem. They promised us a 4 to 6 week update cadence. Going, this is what we're going to do, and the developers are sitting there going, guys, we've been working on this for weeks, and it's ready to go out. I know we're supposed to be working on something else here, but, the two different teams, they have different teams for each different patch they'll do. They'll be like, okay, you're working on update 4, you're 5, you're 6. I think these update 4 guys had already been working on it, and they're like, listen, we've already designed it with updated VR ranks. We can either scrap it all, or, it would take us too long to push this out. It would take a very long time to change the whole way the structure is done. Yes, we're working on the future. You have another team working on that. But do we scrap what we're doing and fail to uphold our promise? Or do we release because this was part of our original programming and it will get fixed later when they do the champion system? That's my thoughts on that. Because generally, developers and stuff are working 4 or 5 versions ahead of the live server. So something that we're complaining about now, going, oh, this is, they're like, yeah, we fixed that like 3 versions ago. You'll see it in a couple weeks. We're working on something else right now. That's generally how development goes. I personally think this was just done, already halfway done when they decided, you know what, our vision for VR ranks isn't what you guys want. We're changing it. And they're like, well, we're going to have to roll forward.
This goes back to what we were saying before. It's okay to add more levels, but make it so that we want to do it. Give us more incentive. Isn't that what we've been saying for a while now?
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about what is involved in Update 4, even though we had our little rant. Is that all you wanted to say, Deltia, too? I just want to make sure.
Well, yeah, I'm really frustrated by that. I just don't see the bigger picture when Elder Scrolls is Elder Scrolls. You walk around, oh, there's a butterfly. 4 hours later, you're like, oh, I didn't get anything accomplished, but that was fun. It attracts a different type of person. All these things that they're making are fantastic. The problem is no one's playing them. Only the top tier people are playing them. I mean, why am I not playing them all the time? I don't have 4 friends that are endgame. You know what I mean? They're all VR5, having fun, going to Cyrodiil, blah, blah, blah. Because they just want to play the game and not have that grind feel that they have in every other MMO. So I'm done.
Okay. You know, that's how Thais and I are, because I'm a raider at heart, and I cannot wait to get into all this stuff. But at the same time, I love the Elder Scrolls game, and I'm taking my time with it because I played Warcraft for years, and I actually did a /played right before I quit and realized I had over a year of played time. Like a year, like a literal
A year of your life
in playtime. And the majority of that, 80-90% of that, was at max level. So I'm taking it slow and enjoying the level up because I'm going to hit max level eventually. And then for the years that I'll be playing this game, I will probably at max level. Of course, you could argue that, seeing as generally they update the VR ranks every 4 to 6 weeks. So maybe I won't be. But
the game is still new. So when we reach those end levels, there'll be more to do.
There will. And honestly, like I said, I think this was just, they already had it all programmed, and instead of failing to uphold their promise of 4 to 6 weeks, I think we're gonna start seeing less and less as the content, because pretty much when the management decided, you know what, we're changing VR ranks, that's when all the developers, all the new projects started to change. But all the stuff that's been currently working on, they're not scrapping. We're just going to start seeing less and less of the old model and more in preparation for champion ranks.
I'm still a fan. I'm still a fanboy, and I'll be in this game for the long haul. It's just when I'm playing 4 different characters and doing 4 different character guides, now I have to go back, recraft all my gear, do all new guides. It's like, dude. And then they're not putting my guides online yet. Come on.
Maybe he would feel better about this, Zos, if maybe you featured his guides every time he wrote one.
All right.
How adorable.
Then he'd be like, yeah, go ahead and change as much as you want, because I'll write another one, they'll throw it up there, it'll be great. It'll be great. Go ahead.
Deltia said he's a fanboy. That's really cute.
Oh, first my hair is cute, now I'm a fanboy, and that's cute. Come on, Thais. Leave me alone.
Indeed.
I have to pick on you because you pick on me with twits. So
with twits.
I need to pick on you in the show.
Okay, now we're going to continue on with the news. Is that all right with
all right.
everybody?
We're
okay.
Cool. We're cool.
I just wanted to make sure,
because
I've kind of lost control of the podcast already, and it's not good. I'm just kidding. I love this. For the big changes for this update, they're doing Upper Camlorn, which they say here, venture into the Badlands surrounding the city of Becklarth. Yes, Becklarth, into a new territory. With the western rock slide cleared and the iron barricades sundered, the roads to Dragonstar are now open to travelers. Here, the insidious Scaled Court and their Iron Orc allies prepare a new invasion force for their master, consisting of terrible monsters created by using ancient alchemy and magical processes of the long dead needs. Oh, nice little lore thing right there. 6 new group delves, 3 new dungeon instances, and a settlement of Dragonstar await you, which is kind of awesome. Included in this, they're also doing the new Serpent Trial. Enter the heart of the Scaled Court's power and face off against the Celestial Serpent himself. Make your way through the most loyal members of the Scaled Court and fight the monstrous trolls, which you guys saw the armored trolls, right?
Yeah.
In the video, because I just remember them from Skyrim from oh crud, why am I drawing a blank on their name? Okay, anyway. And yeah. Those that return to Helroth Citadel are the Etherean Archive after facing the challenges of the Serpent Coil, or Serpent Trial, will find their actions have not gone unnoticed. Of course, Dragonstar Arena is coming out, which is going to be awesome. It's pretty much it's Arena's playstyle. You go in and you have 10 phases that you have to fight through. And apparently, thank goodness, it is Dark Souls hard. Like, it's supposed to be really, really hard. I'm excited about that. And I think we all agree with that, because we're all looking for harder content, because the current, coming from a background, the current iteration of Trials are not what we're looking for as raiders. It's a neat little speed. It's sad that trials take less time than VR dungeons. In other games, you know, the veteran dungeons, heroic dungeons that you use to gear up to go towards raids generally get to a point where speed runs, but now it's the other way around. You speed run trials to get gear to try to do like VR 12 Crypt of Hearts, and that takes like 5 hours.
I still have nightmares of Spindle Clutch.
I was gonna say, we spent many hours in VR dungeons just doing a couple of them.
I blame Kipster.
Now here's something that I think is kind of interesting. Adding a new crafting trait. The Nirnhoned? Yeah, Nirnhoned crafting trait has been discovered in Camlorn. The trait, the necessary trait items can be found rarely while harvesting in Upper Camlorn, which I think is kind of neat. And Nirnhoned equipment can be obtained by completing the main quest line for Camlorn. I guess here's the question that I'm kind of curious about. Are we gonna have to research this trait? Delta, do you know?
50,
we do?
50 days, baby.
50 days to research this.
50 days.
Boy, am I glad I did not take any points out of crafting.
Oh yeah, no, that's gonna have to stay like till the end of time at this point.
Yeah, but did you guys hear what it is?
No.
It's like spell resistance, is what I heard.
Oh.
Like,
It
that's
increases
not cool.
your spell resistance, and a weapon like decreases theirs or something like that.
It's nothing super amazing or anything, so I'm not really that excited about it. The idea is cool.
For completionist wise, yeah, like I'm gonna have to do it. Like I really will. And I'm starting to near the point. See, I'm nearing the point where in probably the next 3 months, I will have almost everything done. I'll say 3 months just because everything is either 2 or 1 trait left. That's it.
Oh, speaking
So I'm
of
up
which,
to-
save your glyphs for deconstruction. They're doubling the amount you get back from them.
Oh, in 1.4?
Yeah, so what I'm doing is basically mailing them to a friend who just returns them and lets them sit in my mail for a while.
Yeah, I do the same thing with when we're out and about. But yeah, actually, I know they were updating it in 1.4, so definitely want to do that. Next up, larger delves. Thank goodness. Delves found in Bangkorai, Reaper's March, and the Rift are now larger and contain more monsters and loot. This is an ongoing effort to make all delves in the game larger. Zos, here's a perfect opportunity to do daily quests to make people go out and maybe clear a delve. You know, maybe one they haven't done before. A rotating delve thing, that'd be great. We have all this great content that there's, after you clear it, there's not really a reason to go back and do it again. But there's so much they could do to make us go back and do it again for rewards. People do it if there's rewards involved.
Yep.
You know? Thankfully, and I'm going to say this as well, you know, when we first saw the preview patch, if you listened to last week, you probably heard my rant complaining about how, oh, they're great, they're releasing Camlorn and the group quests and stuff like that. They should have probably done grouping changes first because of how grouping is in ESO. Well, you know, open mouth, insert foot. Grouping improvements are coming in Update 4. So apparently they kind of hid that from me to make myself sound like a jerk, and now they have grouping improvements that are coming, which will help make more quest condition group. And they have made more quest conditions group shared and condensed remove a number of layers in a particular objective so that you won't be as phased out when joining people. So you'll be able to join groups with other people again. Thank goodness. That was one of my big concerns. Another thing that they're adding, which I think is kind of neat, and I think it will definitely help with maybe some of the lag or frame rate issues, they're adding a PFX prioritization system, which will actually do a distance-based culling. If you're not sure what culling is where it actually, your client limits the number of things that render on your screen, okay? So what they're actually doing here is they're implementing, it's actually a slider, which is great. They're letting us choose. They'll be able to select going how far you want things to render. Do you only want to see your stuff rendered? Do you only want to see your groups? Do you only, they're going to do it sort of like that, where your stuff will always show, and the enemy's stuff against you will always show. But then it'll start doing a priority where next up will be your group mates, and then next up will be people in your faction, and then next up will be enemies in your enemies against your faction that aren't really attacking you any which way. But it will allow you to only see the stuff that's important to you, and always the stuff that is relevant to you, your abilities, and things being done to you will always render, while other things may, I don't really care if Deltia is getting cast on by Black Mage, unless he's on my side, but he's not, so I don't care. But that's not really relevant to me, so seeing that rendered on my screen may hurt my performance when he's not even anywhere near me. But the content around me, like someone trying to drop a trebuchet on my, is very relevant to me, and I need to get out of it. So they're going to do that, and I think that is really awesome. Delta, you have anything to say about the PFX?
It sounds fascinating. I think that would really solve a lot of problems in PvP for sure, especially if you can tune it to whatever you want. That's pretty cool. I mean, I think the graphics in this game are bar none the best in MMO as far as smooth and frames, and they're continuing to update them and make it user friendly for people using laptops or whatever. More control is always better versus less, so I'm excited about that.
I love the fact that there's a slider for it too, because I hate being forced into it. This is one thing I hated with Guild Wars 2. They implemented a calling, well, it actually was part of their system, that was really annoying, that would call out too many enemies, like it would only render so many on your screen. But there wasn't a choice. Like they found what was good for their baseline system and said, okay, you can only render this amount. Well, my system's not that bad and I can render more, but there wasn't an option. I like when they let you customize it to your settings. If I'm on a laptop and I can only see what's happening directly to me, I should be able to put that down so I can still enjoy the game. But if I'm on my, my rig with an ATI Radeon like 4 gig GPU card in here, with a crossfire support, I should be able to go much higher. I shouldn't have to look at laptop settings when my rig's able to handle a lot more. So I love options. I think every developer should develop games in that manner, where there are options that need to be done on the client side, and let them do it. Let them choose what's good for them. All right, we already talked about new VR rank, so we're going to skip over that, but VR rank is going to be increased to 14. Now, they're also altering some ability-altering enchantments. We've added powerful new ability-altering enchantments that can be dropped on weapons found in the Dragonstar Arena,
That's
the
cool.
Serpent Trial in difficult mode, and the Alliance War leaderboards. Now listen to some of this. This is kind of neat.
Carve, baby.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Carve, baby.
Great healing. This ability now restores stamina to allies in an area.
Wow.
Because before it did magicka.
Wow.
Now it will also do stamina. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Cleave. This ability deals bonus damage on initial hit. Puncture. This ability heals the caster. Twin Slash. This ability deals additional bleed damage every tick. Poison Arrow. This ability increases your weapon damage when attacking enemies affected by Poison Arrow, so it actually benefits spamming the darn thing. And Destructive Touch, this ability deals more damage, costs less. Now, these are enchantments that you can find on weapons and stuff that drop from these areas. This may not even be a complete list, but it's just a little sampling. And some of them, I'm going to tell you right now, they've implemented a best in slot right here. Like, before it was kind of hit or miss, but I got to tell you right now, Grand Healing, if I were running a dungeon, like raid group, I would want all my healers to have this. If you have a resto staff, I want you to have this, because that's awesome for any of your melee. That's actually awesome for anyone, because even people who aren't using melee as or stamina as a melee resource need it for dodging and stunning and stuff, and your tank will love it. This is awesome changes. You'll find weapons and armor that you're actually gonna really want because of the bonus effects, especially if it attributes to a main skill on your bar. Base, what do you think about armor and weapon enchants that boost specific abilities?
I all for that, especially for Destructive Touch. I happen to like that ability, but it doesn't deal enough damage and it just costs way too much.
Yeah, things like this. You know how much I would love if like a greatsword drop that changed synergy from restoring magicka to stamina. Like, or equilibrium rather. I would love it. I'm not saying they would do that, but something like that would go hands down. I want that sword. Like, that's it. I must have it. I think that is really neat, and I really like what they're doing here. I think it will...
They're making a lot of good changes, but then they're also making a bunch of bad changes.
Honestly, the only one I think is...
Not here, not in that particular list, just meant in that update.
Oh, I think the only thing that most people hate is the VR ranks. All right. Does anyone have anything else to say? Of course, there's lots of fixes and stuff like that. We won't go over those because those are boring. But if you have, I do encourage everyone to read the patch notes, and you can find them over on the official forums under the PTS side. I do encourage everyone to jump into the PTS as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Anyone have anything else to say about patch 1.4 on the PTS? Deltia?
No, just saying that, like everyone says, get on it and try it, because if it's bug and broke and there's something super overpowered and we don't investigate as players, it's kind of our responsibility to, you know, I know not everyone has time to test everything out, but you get a free character, 5 million gold. Now's your time that if you want to see what it's like to be at endgame, you can go do it for free. And there's no leveling up, there's nothing. They're scaled right to VR14, so you can find all those problems with the game and then suggest new ones to fix it. It's our game, we can create it, but the community has to work together.
Absolutely, and if you're also working on builds, it's better to do it on the PTS, you know, where it doesn't cost you much. Like, you don't, it's free, and you're 50, you got skill points, you just play around, having to worry about it. Okay. Next up on our list, there has been a confirmation from ZOS developer Brian Wheeler, PvP master himself. There is going to be a new 30-day standard campaign called Azura's Star that will be added in patch 1.4.0. It will be added for both the EU and the US. Now, that being said, the veteran campaign Bow of Shadows will be shut down due to inactivity in both the EU and the US. I wanted to highlight that because I was kind of perusing the ESO forums and found that we are getting another 30-day campaign, because obviously the 30-day campaign is really popular right now. Like, it's pretty much the only one where there's stuff going on. But yeah, we're getting another 30-day campaign, and I just kind of find it interesting that the veteran campaign is being removed.
I don't.
Because
I don't.
I honestly, here's the thing. I think all the leveling people wanted a separation of VR ranks. The veteran rank players didn't want a separation because they can farm newbies like crazy and, you know, get their achievements up, get their points up by just farming the low levels. So that's where they're going. They didn't want to go to a vet-only PvP campaign because it's a fair fight. I mean, I'm going to be honest, that's what it is. It's a fair fight. So,
which is why I don't like PvPers.
Yeah, I mean, you can't gank anyone when everyone else is VR12. So that's being changed. That's really interesting, but I kind of saw that coming. Like, we already talked last week about needing another 30-day because we cannot get onto the 30-day when we want to because it's always full. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I wanted to highlight that. Anyone have anything to say about that?
No.
I just find it funny. I really do.
Okay.
That's all.
Deltia?
Well, I think that the non-veteran rank is still a popular server because people want to go try PvP but don't get smoked by a VR12, Dragon Knight, Dunmer, blah blah blah. So that I go there and have fun sometimes because it's just that there's no stress about it. But the one that's a veteran rank, well, there's really no purpose in that because you can just go to a 30-day campaign.
Get better rewards and everything.
So I can see. I like that they're adding another one. I think that's a good idea.
I agree, and I think they need to keep the non-veteran one because it's it kept us out of PvP for a long time because we tried to do guild events in there when we all went in and tried to have a good time, and our entire group of VR people was wiped out by one person. It's just not a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's just not fun for anyone. None of us had fun doing it. It was like,
weren't we wiped out by someone named Kelly Clarkson?
Yeah, I think so. They were a
Deltia's gaming
sorcerer. All right. Well, next up, and this is going to be for our add-on developers, there is a new update for API patch notes and changelog that is on the PTS. I'm not going to go over this because this is a lot of technical stuff, which most people would find boring, but there is a whole new list of coding for the API that we can actually add into our add-ons, specifically for new guild events, to remove guild events such as guild invites, removes, deletes, that kind of stuff. Change of the guild history information. I'm really hoping if someone can tell me this, there needs to be a log program. Can I please get a log program of guild events? Like just like a spooling log that keeps track of all your guild events, because it seems to disappear after like a day or two. So I would like to be able to have like a log, like an add-on that just pulls everything that happened and stores it on a log on my computer.
Oh, the guild history? I noticed that too.
Yeah, like if anything happens, it's there for like a day, it disappears. Of course, they also have new item link functions and stuff of that nature. So, of course, if you are an add-on developer, check out this list of changes and, check it out. All right. Next up on the guild or game news, Spotlight. They are spotlighting another French guild, which I'm really not going to talk about too much because it's kind of neat. They're an RP guild. Is that museum?
Museum.
Are you sure? It's supposed to be Latin, but I didn't really know. Anyway, so it's a French guild called Museum. They are a role-playing guild. They're French-speaking in the EU, and they serve the Aldmari Dominion. Currently, they only have about 13 active members, and I guess they do server-wide events. So if you are part of the French-speaking community on the EU servers, and you're interested in finding a small roleplay guild, maybe you should check them out. They do have a website, which is TESO -museum.engine.com. Go ahead and check them out. Maybe they're for you, maybe they're not, but check it out. If you want to read all their answers and stuff like that, you can head over to the official Elder Scrolls Online page and check out the Guild Spotlight under the community programs. All right. Yeah, you guys don't have anything to say about that? I assume not, right?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah. I like to highlight them just to let them know when they go out, but specifically, unless it's a very specified, like a specific guild, like they're after something, they have a good mission statement, I try not to go into it too much. Okay. This one I thought was kind of neat. There is a Dragonstar Arena PTS challenge going on. Let's see here. What were the dates for it? I don't think there is any. Oh, there's no dates for it. So the entire time that the Dragonstar Arena patch 4.0 is on the PTS, there is a challenge where you can get invited to an exclusive Q&A session with the ESO developers. All you have to do is get a group together and go test out the PTS version of Dragonstar Arena, and you must take a screenshot of your character conquering all 10 grueling stages of the arena mode, the arena veteran mode, and they'll invite you to ask questions and share your experience with the development team. You need to take a picture of the achievement Dragonstar Arena Conqueror on the PTS and post the screenshot of your character with the unlocked achievements in this thread. And that's on the official Elder Scrolls Online page. Now, see, I think this is really awesome that they're doing this.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool. So I think Kipster and probably Brandon as well are probably doing that with their guilds to try to get into this Q&A session. That's really cool. Developers doing that, especially I think they need to do this from the hardcore crowd Because if you can keep a hardcore crowd, you can keep a casual crowd, because there'll be so much stuff for the casual crowd to do that, you know, if you can keep the hardcore people happy, then the casual crowd will be content for years to come. So, Delta, you have anything you want to say on a Dragonstar Arena challenge?
Well, what I think they should do is do the top 10. You know, if you complete the thing, you get to sit with the developers. But why not make it incentive-based, like, there's also going to be one random person picked, one random man or woman group picked, who just did it. So, like, just go in there and take a screenshot of your characters. Just go into the Dragonstar and try it out. So that way, there's like one person that's going to be able to be picked out of, you know, a million people. Well, so people are just going to shut down and not even try it. So basically, you got the top 5 guilds fighting for that, where everyone else has no incentive to go do it besides testing it and get a preview of the content. Make it so if 4 of your guildies and friends just go in there and try it out, then you have a possibility of doing it. Make it random, so that way everyone does it. You'd have way more people try it that way.
I completely agree. Making it so that you have to complete it, because wasn't it Kipster who said he couldn't even get past 2?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trying this for hours trying to get it, it's going to discourage a lot of people.
Oh, I'm happy about that, though. And I will say,
if there's only like 4 people at the Q&A, how is that helpful?
It's anyone who actually beats it, though.
That's what I don't like. You need to make it the person who beats it, and then also another group. You got to make it casual specific too. I mean, you know, you got more than one player type in this game.
No, I'm going to agree with that from one point of view, but I guess it's one of the things of how do you limit having everyone in it could be a problem. You know, you can't have 500 people in a Q&A. It'll look like a Reddit board. No one will get answers.
I'm just saying that you just have one group of 4 who beats it, and then one group of 4 who randomly did it. So literally 8 people.
Okay. All right. Yeah, well, I have imagined pretty much all of, like, Defunct and I forget what is his. I can't remember.
We kill bosses, I think.
We kill bosses. I bet you all their members are going to be in there, so they'll probably have 30 or 40 people in that Q&A. I would imagine. Like, I really would. But, yeah. So that's the Dragonstar Arena PTS challenge. Get out there and give it a shot. You have a group of friends who think you're pretty good, go up and try it. But, I am pretty happy that I've been told that it is very, very, very difficult, and I think that's something we need in this game. We need something difficult to strive towards, not something that, you know, you can finish in 30 seconds. Okay, next up, and this one I'm really excited about, the ESO subscriber loyalty program. Pretty much what they're doing here is, starting in September, they'll be emailing out all eligible paid subscribers about the first of our loyalty rewards. Every paid account that has been subscribed for 3 months, excluding game time included with your purchase of ESO, and any additional complimentary game time, will receive the High Hrothgar Wraith Vanity Pet. So that is pretty awesome. And this is going to be a stacking reward that the longer you're subscribed, they're going to come out with more tiers. There'll probably be one at 6 months, and then 9 months, then 12 months, etc. You'll be getting different rewards to kind of show off that your character has been subscribed for a very long time. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat. When this first came out, somebody was saying, "Oh, well, if they are doing that, why do we need a loyalty program to be subscribed to the game unless the game's going free to play?" And I have a rebuttal with this. A lot of games have this. Like Final Fantasy XIV has a loyalty program, and they are right now the second largest MMO out there. They have like 3 million subscribers, which is more than any other MMO out there besides Warcraft at this point. And they are a subscription game. This is not a pre to a free to play. I had to say this right off the bat. This game is not going to go free to play till at the very least, even though I doubt it will ever happen, but at the very least until the console release, because it'd be stupid to go free to play before then to see, you know, if you get more numbers. Will it happen? I would doubt heavily believe that would ever happen to this game. But someone was like, oh, if they're doing a loyalty program, they're trying to entice us to stay subscribed. I said, yeah, they are. They're
And
trying to entice us to stay subscribed consecutively, not 1 month here, unsubscribe, come back 2 months later. They want us to be subscribed the entire time. That's what these loyalty programs are, to say, yeah, I've been subscribed nonstop for this entire time. Final Fantasy does the same thing. When you hit certain, key marks, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, they give you something, a pet, a title, a mount, something to go, here is something we're doing to reward you for being loyal to us, for paying your subscription, for sticking with us this entire time. That's why they're doing a loyalty program, not as a precursor to anything.
I love it. I absolutely love this. But my only complaint is that they need another way to store pets.
I think that's a different argument altogether. But yeah, I think the one comment on the official forums was, great, another pet. Now when can we get a pet manager or something to hold all this so I don't have to keep it in my bank?
I would love to run around with a pet, but not if it's taking up one slot of very valuable space.
It's like pet or mountain flower. Pet or mountain flower. It's hard.
Exactly. Yes. But I love these types of programs, especially in Final Fantasy with how long their program's been going. You get so much stuff.
Where's my
dog?
That's TSO Fangirl said that, but yeah, I want the damn dog. And then someone else was telling me, Zach from my guild, Party Pyro on Twitter, he's like, everyone's saying free to play. I'm like, this is a subscriber loyalty program, hence subscription. What? That's the opposite of free to play. Like, trolls, go back to your bridge.
Exactly. That's why I had to call out the people. I'm like, this is not a new thing. This is not a precursor to free to play. This is not a new thing. This is actually, a lot of games do this who value their subscriber base and want to encourage you to stay subscribed. Because, they want players to stay in their game. They want them to stay and play all the time. The people who played for 1 month and cancel for the next 3 and come back, great. They value those customers too, but they really want to show appreciation to those who have spent 3 months, 6 months consistently subscribed to their game, because you're helping fund them to continue to make our game better. And I say our game, not their game, because it's our game. That's why we're here, and that's why they want to reward us.
I don't know about you, but when I win an award for something like this and I'm walking around with it and hardly anyone else has it, I'm walking around with my chest puffed out like, yeah, I got this.
Here's another example of this. This actually encourages people to subscribe longer, because when Final Fantasy 14 came out with their, I think it was 1 year subscription rewards, they came out with like a behemoth mount or something like that. I knew one of our guildies said, like, I went to the thing and subscribed for another 6 months just so I could get it right now.
I had to have you subscribe me for an extra 3 months so I could get the fat chocobo mount.
Exactly. It's just something that is like, oh, I want that. He went out and subscribed for another 6 months and threw it on his account just because he wanted the rewards.
Speaking of mounts, can we get some Oreo?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm kind of hoping the 6 month reward is. It might be a mount of some type. Cough, cough, gar. Cough, cough.
Well, that seems to be the thing that is going on in our chat room right now. Is a guar mount, a pink guar mount, which, TS Fangirl, I would love that very much.
I would like to see, because it would be lore specific, I would like to see, or it could be at least done in lore, I would like to see spectral horses or spectral mounts that you could be, from conjuration, could, be taught into lore by conjuration. I summoned a spectral horse. I would like to see guar mounts. I would like to see bear and maybe like a dire wolf kind of mount, because I think that would be kind of neat.
Ooh, dire wolf, that'd be cool, yeah.
TS Fangirl says, how about a silt strider?
A mini silt strider would be kind of neat as well from Morrowind, because they were used as mounts in Morrowind. Yeah, they were really big though, but yeah. Silt strider is already in lore as a mount.
Clano, exactly. I agree.
But yeah, they have room. I don't want to see random
cheesy mounts that destroy the game.
Exactly. Mounts that have no bearing on the lore, because the lore in this game is so rich, but they do have a lot of lore that you could pull into that you know, like the Conjuration School alone, you could summon whatever kind of mounts you really wanted from that. But yeah, there's a lot you could do, and I really hope this comes in later on with more veteran rewards. Another thing I would like to see is a way to get these rewards via
content.
Yes, thank you. Almost all the mini pets in the game are only able to get via special promotions are in-game. Not special promotions are
buying
purchases
from the cash shop. Yep.
That's what I said last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
As incentive, yes.
Yep. Tie them to. You already got a base as ZeniMax for the achievement system, which is awesome, by the way, for dots. Add other rewards, titles, mounts. I mean, you already have some titles, but add more. Everyone loves titles. I love titles.
Everyone loves collecting things.
Well,
Absolutely.
What about nameplates over your head? Like, why does this game not have that? Because I love the nameplate, and that has like your guild tag and stuff. I think that's huge. Am I missing something?
I don't miss that, and I understand why they did it. Because the world feels so alive, they kind of want to make it look seamless with the environment. That the people are there, they are living there, they are working there. That to me makes sense.
But couldn't you turn it on and off?
I would like it turn on and off, because here's something else that doesn't really make sense, but what they're probably going to add. They've been talking about chat bubbles. That they want to add chat bubbles above characters' heads, like specifically when people are like when you walk down the street and you hear the people just talking. We have that one add-on that throws it on our screen, but they want to add chat bubbles, so when you're typing or something, it looks like your character says stuff. I'm fine with nameplates as long as you can turn them off. And if they give us the option, I'm fine with that. I mean, they already do. If you look at some people's screens and some other people's with add-ons and stuff and how different they are, I don't care. And TS Fangirl goes, yeah, no chat bubbles. And I agree, as long as they give me the option to turn it off. There should be a little checkbox that says, see chat bubbles? Off, on, off, on. Same with nameplates, off, on, off, on. Because I like when you put your crosshair, you see the person's name, you see the title. That works for me, and that's about as much as I will use. But having the option is definitely not a bad thing. Okay. So I think we kind of got a little bit of a rabbit trail from the ESO subscriber, but we all love the game, and it's going to be awesome. The last thing in guild news for this week is another Adventurer's Handbook issue number 8. This week, they have a guide on the forum that a forum member compiled a while back to help you set up to play ESO with the controller on the Mac. The author went to great lengths to create a clear, well-organized guide that will get you up and running. So if you wanted to run with a controller on a Mac, I'm going to link it in the chat right now. So if you want to see it, you can go out there and play with it. I'm going to also say one more thing. If you're looking to run on PC, there is a program called hold on, I got to look at it here real quick. Xpatter, that's what I use. Controller when I feel like running a controller, works perfectly. You just have to map you map the keys on a controller. You can sit there and hold down the keys and go, okay, when I'm holding this down, it's the same as hitting, 1. So you can map it and play on a controller. It's a lot of fun. Next up is our next feature this week is a video from Ziggs RPG that reviews and examines some of the quality of life changes to ESO, some of which are already implemented and some that are coming in the future. This video is the first in a series that Ziggs is making, so give it a look and get caught up on the changes and how they'll affect you. Don't forget to give him some feedback on his upcoming videos, and I'm going to link that in the chat as well. And I've already seen this one because it was featured on Tamriel Foundry. So if you're interested, you can check it out. This is something that I think is kind of nice that you can hand off to friends who maybe quit after the first month and want to know what changes. He does outline it very nice, everything that's changed up until now and what's coming. So it's a nice little video that you can show people. Finally, not finally, there's two more here. 4-member Usara has compiled a helpful guide, Crime Pays, Give to the Poor, and Lightbringer achievements, which require you to find a few reclusive NPCs and perform a different task. This guide includes a great list of locations where you may find these NPCs and how to go about searching for them. If you don't know what these achievements actually are, have you ever been out in the world and seen like two people arguing over a campfire? Like, you started, kind of stuff. There's actually an achievement for helping all those people light the campfires. It does give you a little bit of experience, but there is an achievement for finding everyone in all the different zones, and that's what this guy does. There are several things, like the Crime Pays one is an achievement for, sometimes you find merchants walking on the street, and you can extort them for money, and they will actually drop a chest on the ground that you can loot and get money and reward out of it. And there also is a beggar one where you have to pay or, give money to beggars and stuff of that nature. So this outlines where they all are, because they don't always all appear. They're kind of like random spawns, kind of like Maik the Liar. I always get excited whenever I find Maik. And I went ahead and linked that in the chat as well. Finally, the last guide comes from French player Gobulella, oh my goodness, is an expert alchemist. In it, she shares more than 30 recipes for potions that are sure to help you along with your adventures. So, if you really want a recipe, there's other sites out there, but this guide here will give you a handful of different recipes that are probably the most used. Now, be warned that this is a French site. I'm going to link it, and it is all in French. So, unfortunately, if you don't speak French, you are SOL. I'm sorry. But I went ahead and linked that in the chat for any of our French listeners. So, it's going to go ahead and wrap up our Adventures Guide, issue number 8. So, Adventures Guide, issue number 8. Anyone have anything to say about that other than Deltia, who's probably upset?
What's up with my guides, yo? Come on, they're the best ever.
Yes. Zos, get some of Deltia's guides on there.
I figured out what the problem is. Your guides are just too good.
Aww, that must be what
thank
it is.
you. No.
That must be what it is.
No, actually,
and
T-Fangirl said something really interesting. Maybe I should write him from like an RP perspective, like as in I'm in character or something. So I'm actually going to try doing that on one of my other builds.
Okay. Yeah, they do seem to like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so that is the end of our news for this week, and we're going to go ahead and move on to our Elder Scrolls discussion topic. And the topic that we had picked this week is the Road Ahead article that was released on August 20th. Now, I went and I bullet pointed all of this stuff, and we're going to go through each one, and we'll just kind of talk about each one.
This is going to be a long episode.
It probably will. We may have to cut it short at some point. But anyway, let's go ahead and move forward. Road Ahead, August 20th. First up, what they kind of give another synopsis of all the stuff they're working on and have worked on recently. Now, first off, they had the EU Mega Server migration. Now, they finally moved the Mega Server over to its permanent home in Frankfurt a few weeks ago. They say many have been playing from Europe immediately reported far lower ping times and less latency, along with generally better gameplay experience. Things are looking good, but we'll continue to watch for any reports of intermittent networking and latency issues to make sure everything is running as smoothly as possible. Now, I know we actually do have a couple European fans. The Stelden one, he can maybe tell us a little bit about if he's noticed much lag. I think the last time I asked him, he's like, I didn't really notice much at all. Maybe we'll actually have to ask him one of these weeks. Get him on the show, guest with us. All right, next up, combat system tweaks. And he goes, as I mentioned in July's Road Ahead, we're working to refine our combat system to make it more responsive and give your actions and your enemies more punch. Thank goodness. Templar needs help. This work continues, and you've already started to see some of the changes, like our recent change to weapon swapping. For example, we've changed the way we cache textures for your ultimate weapon, and what that means for you is faster, more reliable weapon swapping which in turn helps make combat feel more responsive. We have many more changes to combat in the works, and you'll see the bulk of them in Update 5. And that gives us something to be excited about. We'll have more detail about that, about what you can expect before long. Now, here's one thing I want to say before we go on to this. I love that they do these road ahead articles every month. They have done them every month, and it's really cool. Just gonna say that. So, combat system tweaks. Deltia, what do you think of the state of combat when they first launched versus where it is now?
When you say combat, do you mean the overall abilities, or you mean how combat flows?
I think they're more referring to combat flow versus other things.
I think it's much better now. There's still bugs with the bow and some abilities with latency. If they're going to fix anything, fix animation canceling. That would bring this game to a whole nother level. That's what needs to be fixed. And that's the one thing I really haven't seen them address, really. I don't know why. They're afraid of it or what. They can't fix it. But I think it's better than it was. Not by much. It needs a lot of work. Some classes just feel more natural flow-wise than others. Like my Dragon Nightblade really flows well with dual wielding. But then I switch while I'm stealthed and then I'm bugged. So it needs some work.
The tower is fading.
Yeah, I agree. This is probably one of the best games I've ever played in terms of latency, other than maybe Warcraft. They had excellent IO with Warcraft, but this one is definitely at least a good contender. Now, I like the way they changed the weapon swap. I think it really helped, but I still do see a little bit of issues with weapon swap, as well as that animation canceling feels clunky. Like I have been working on it on my Templar to boost and I do see a DPS boost with animation canceling, but it's clunky, and I mean, I don't want to say this as a bad player or anything of that nature, but it does. It just makes me feel like I'm cheesing the system. How it feel elegant. It makes me feel like I have to break something to make it better.
Yep.
I think one of the things that they should just up and do is remove animation canceling. Like, don't maybe lock your character while you're doing an anime, but speed up the animations by 50%. You know, that would at least make it flow a little faster. What do you think about? You have any comments about animation canceling? Any of the weapon swapping, anything of that nature?
The weapon swapping, I am completely enjoying how quick it is now, because I take a lot of damage. I die really, really easily. So now I can swap to my restoration staff pretty much instantly and cast out some heals to make sure that I don't die. As for the rest of the animations with my destruction staff, I like how my destruction staff flows. It works for me. But when I was playing the Templar, you told me to try out a greatsword. I couldn't stand it.
The animations are slow for greatsword, and it does make it feel clunky.
I can understand why it would be that way, because for a greatsword, it's not like you're going to be swinging a dagger. It's not instant. I understand that, but it still feels clunky. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, that's something that they need to work on. Okay, next up is constant vigilance. They're always on the lookout for in-game exploits and cheating, and we aim to deal with issues quickly and appropriately. Thank you so much for those who report the issues you see on the forums and through feedback. Please keep it coming. Investigating and addressing these kind of problems is one of our highest priorities, and it helps keep the playing field fair and fun. I haven't seen many botters or anything anymore. Deltia, how about you?
I do have a good point about this. Now, for everyone that says customer service in Elder Scrolls Online sucks, this is what happened. There's dueling guilds, like they are legitimately dueling each other out in Cyrodiil, and then there's quote-unquote dueling guilds who basically AP trade and get on voice comms and just kill each other out in some random spot in Cyrodiil. So we were out in Cyrodiil. My buddy said, hey, knock it off. Don't be doing that. And the guy said, no, screw you. We're going to continue doing it. And so he wrote a ticket, screenshot what they said, And 30 minutes later, a GM came in and kicked him out the game and contacted my friend in game. That was pretty impressive. So if you're botting or doing stupid stuff, they are vigilant about it. I have never seen a GM in game do that quick before. So don't AP trade. Lesson of the story.
They do seem really. It is cool. They hit hard. Like, I've seen so many posts on Reddit and stuff of that nature going, I was only banned for helping, which in all honesty, they're not helping. If you're helping, you find a bug and you report it right away, and then you don't do it again. You don't test it over, or as I say, test with air quotes, for hours and hours and hours and never send anything. Then when you get banned, you go, I was only testing before I sent you a bug report. No. I would have banned you too. And they are really vigilant about it, and I'm glad of it. Thais, what do you think?
Oh, I never see any botters anymore.
There were a lot at the beginning, but they seem to be hammered out a lot.
Yeah, they're gone.
So that's awesome. Yeah, I don't see them anymore at all. Next up, loyalty program, which we talked about earlier, so we can I'll read it, but we'll skip over it. Later this week, which is when this was posted, we already kind of know about it, you'll find out about our loyalty program, a new feature that will give you special in-game rewards for spending your time subscribed to ESO. It will start out relatively small with an Ice Ray vanity pet that you can obtain, but it will be expanded over time to include more items we think you'll really love. War pet. Everyone will know if you're really a veteran player. Stay tuned for details. Absolutely. I do love the loyalty program, because when you pull out that vanity pet or that title or that mount, whatever they reward us with, a new player comes and goes, hey, where'd you get that? And you'll be like, you get it for being subscribed for X amount of months. So I've been here for a long time. So, yeah, that's it. Next up is Camlorn expands, which we talked about earlier with update 4, the final region of Camlorn. And your veteran rank will find a way to explore more areas and having more challenges to test yourself. The new region completes the story of the first event and will feel familiar to those who have already explored the rest of Camlorn. Expect tough enemies, new delves, quests, and more of the story of the fallen constellations. So it's kind of neat. They're kind of wrapping up that zone. Included with this, of course, is the Serpent Trial and the Dragon Star Arena. So yeah, this is going to be a really, really cool update. Now, we talked about those in excess earlier, but do you have anything to say about that? Either one?
Yeah, Camlorn I really like, because you don't have to be VR12 to do it. You can go in as a VR1 or 2 if you have a couple strong players, and go around as a 4-man or woman group and have a lot of fun. I really like Camlorn. I think expanding it's really good, and especially if you make the delves bigger. Usually there's a few bosses in there somewhat easy and then a really hard one. I like it because it's basically when you hit VR content, as soon as I do, I go right to Camlorn.
Absolutely. I'm excited to try Camlorn. We haven't done it yet, even though we technically could. I don't like splitting my questing because I'm kind of in a bullet point, finish this zone kind of thing. But I'm excited for Camlorn. I like the idea and premise of it. I really do. And once these grouping changes come into effect, I think it'll be a great area. Okay, next up, and this is one I'm excited about, leaderboards. In the future, we'll be wiping our leaderboards. We want to do this in light of several exploits that have allowed teams to achieve completion times that shouldn't be possible, like skipping stuff. We fixed the exploits that we're aware of, and we'll continue to keep our eyes open for and correct any unintended behavior. As part of our steps to address unrealistic completion times, we've made sure that you have to kill all the bosses in trial runs before the timer stops. In the future, we expect to introduce a new mechanism built around point scoring for our leaderboards that will encourage players to engage in encounters rather than try to avoid them. I like this. I really do. Yeah, I think it's needed. Some people probably will disagree with me on this. Thais.
When it comes to PvE play, I'm okay with leaderboards. I guess right now I just don't really understand what they're trying to explain here.
Well, what they're trying to do here is they're
Trash.
saying that, yeah, they're wiping all the stuff. Like the current scores are going to be wiped out, and the reason for this was because when the trials first came out, people were finding ways to skip trash, to skip whole bosses, and run to the end, kill it. That's how people were getting like 6-7 minute completion times.
Well, as you know, Ag, I am not a fan of speedruns.
Mm-hmm.
And in Guild Wars 2, that's pretty much all anyone did with speedruns. Try and find the way to skip the most amount of mobs. Can't stand it. So I am all for this. I think that if you want to be on the leaderboards in PvE, you should show that you can handle all the content as efficiently and as well as you can.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and that's why I don't like, and I know one thing, Phasius from Entropy Rising had asked the developers during the QuakeCon, are you guys ever going to release PvE content that's not tied to a timer? Because this type of gameplay, while I think it's have, doesn't really fit the raid mechanic a lot of us are looking for. I think it's a nice, I hope they don't do away with it. I hope it's an in addition to kind of thing that they keep adding. But they need to add a different type of raid style. They really do. And I mean, some people will complain or yell at me for this, but if you're going to add rating as it really is that all the games have done before. And some people are like, oh, you shouldn't do that because of, oh, this is trying to be new. Sometimes you can improve upon, but sometimes why reinvent the wheel when it's already been invented? Just improve on it. That's all you need. And I think that's what they need to do. Because reinventing the wheel doesn't do much other than people go, that's great, but your square wheel doesn't work as well as the old one. It just doesn't. Next up, champion system. They're hard at work at their champion system. The real crux of the champion system is encouraging growth on your character for as long as you wish. Thank goodness. Balancing this growth is going to take time and result in some changes to the game.
Deltia has worries. Deltia's spidey senses are acting up. Keep reading.
Okay. The final result of these changes isn't entirely known yet. As an example, we believe the champion system may entirely remove the concept of soft caps in the game.
Oh, no!
I like this. In order to do that, we have to make sure sets, potions, abilities, and passives still effective, but they may need to have their numbers adjusted. In fact, to add more granularity to the system, a great deal of numbers you're used to now may have to change. The idea is that that we want everyone to feel just as powerful with their characters, but to also allow more opportunities for visible growth while still feeling challenged. As for Phase 2 in the series of challenges leading to the champion system, which is converting veteran points to experience, we're still working to implement this. We'll have more news in the future as we hammer out the details of the champion system. We're excited to get this into your hands, but want to make sure it feels great and continues to provide you with ways to improve your character as ESO expands. Now, Delty, before your spidey sense goes off, I'm going to say one thing. This can either be really great or really bad. And take Star Wars Galaxies and their combat patch for an example. How they completely revamped it.
And
it was meant to improve the game, and all it did was it was the death knell for that game. It really was. Now I have faith in these developers, but when you're changing entire systems that people are used to, this is a slippery slope. I'm excited for the champion system. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for it, but tread carefully. Deltia?
I am as super pumped for the champion system. If it's like this. It rewards players for playing alts, and basically you get super long, hard things to do that give you passives on all your characters. Awesome. That would be fun. There's endless things to do. You can do it on alts. Oh my god, I would love that. getting rid of soft caps?
By the look of his...
You guys do realize this is an MMO, right? MMO means people will do whatever they can to exploit content, stats, and do whatever they want. If you remove soft caps, you will have people one-shotting bosses. You will have people destroying a keep in Cyrodiil. You cannot do it. I'm telling you, this will ruin the game. Don't try to develop a new wheel. The wheel's working. Make some tune-ups, but I'm telling you, this could be hugely devastating. Varwin on Elder Scrolls Off the Record said it. No soft caps? Why? What, you want someone to have 5,000 weapon crit? Or, I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. What would be the advantage of doing that? I don't know of any. So, oh, yeah. When this comes out on PTS, if there's ever a time I'm going to get on the PTS, it will be to test this out and write 5,000 tickets on why I don't like it. But hopefully it gets done right. I think it will. Just warning them that's you could break this game and ruin it.
I honestly don't see how they can... Man, how to put this in words. I don't see how it's possible for them to create the champion system in such a way that soft caps have to be removed. That to me is just... I don't get it. What exactly are they doing that this could be a possibility? Because I completely agree with Deltia. Shocker. I don't know. I don't know. I also happen to like the VR system. Probably the only person who does. But I do. I'm a little wary as to how this is gonna work.
I actually like the champion system way more than the veteran rank because of how it's done with the constellations and how you can put points in it to improve your character in ways that you want it to. Such as, like, one of the things they showed us before was, like, Blade Master, which, you know, spoiler warning, public service announcement. This is not written in stone. This is just an example. Blade Master was something that increased your damage with swords specifically. So if you only use swords, like, oh, if you put them in here, you're better with this. Like, this is how you develop your character. Maybe you get more crit. Characters, yeah. So I like this system. I really do. I think it's going to be awesome. I don't like the removal of soft caps because other games... A soft cap is nothing more than diminishing returns when you stop getting the 100% rate. Every game has diminishing returns, and you need diminishing returns, or else what's going to happen is, like Deltia said, you're going to have people with 100% crit chance all the time and 100%, 5,000% extra crit damage. These numbers are, and this is not something that will happen right away. This will happen gradually. This is what happened with Warcraft with their expanding numbers, how they had to shrink everything down because it went to the point where people were hitting for like 1 million damage or something like that as the levels went up, and the numbers had to get crunched back down to a more reasonable. Given theirs was just a visual thing, a visual number, but this could potentially be a, the 100%, everyone has to have 100% crit, 5 times crit damage to be viable. That's the only option. I think the champion system would be an amazing way to implement the current system with soft caps of, I'm going to put a few of my champion points in stamina to kind of get me closer to that soft cap, or, that will definitely help. It really will. It will also allow us, I think it'll be a great way to, as what other games have done, maxing out your stats up to, the soft cap by redoing your points. Like, okay, I have a new set of gear. Oh, well, my health recovery is a little lower than it was. Well, let's put some champion points in here because you'll be able to respec to get my health recovery up to a certain level. All that stuff needs to be taken into account, but removal of soft caps is a scary thing, and I don't know how they're going to do it. And I can't talk intelligently about it because I can't fathom a way where it will work. So.
I mean, why? They're in place so you can't exploit stuff. That's the whole point of diminishing returns. And this game doesn't have diminishing returns on crit, which I think is bizarre. So you're getting rid of the one safety net, so people don't stack points in whatever is the most advantageous. So there has to be a limit to doing something. Otherwise, you're going to have everyone run the exact same spec, and you can't even do the content unless you, like you said, you have 100% crit and 5,000 weapon power or something. It's baffling to me.
Yeah, it is definitely very weird how that's gonna work, and I'm not really sure. It's kind of scary. Like I don't know how it's gonna work. So.
Oh well.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see and go from there, I guess. So, that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is a plea for help on the PTS. Thank goodness that they actually, did this. They're calling for more help on PTS going. They know they need more testing. More testing on this on the PTS. There's not enough people. When the game first came out, and specifically Camlorn, only people who were part of the Sigic Order, which was the the alpha testers and stuff like that, who had full access to the game, actually did Camlorn, and they possibly didn't really do that great of a job, because we all saw how when Camlorn came out, all the bugs and exploits and everything that were out with it. There were weeks of patches and stuff to correct after Camlorn came out. So definitely, if you get a chance, please go out there and download it and play it. With that being said, I tried and it finished, and then it said the download was corrupt and I have to start over. 4 days of patching and it was corrupt, and now I have to start over again. I'm sad. Yeah. All right. Next up, yeah, no AC or anything turned on, nothing like that. So, and except for thing 1-1. Next up, updates to the QuakeCon presentation. We talked about a whole bunch about a new systems during QuakeCon, and here's a short update on some of the systems we talked about and roughly when to expect them in an update. As I said when I introduced the panel, we talked about features and systems that extend through the end of the year and beyond, so not all of them are short term. This is kind of interesting. This was a little baffling to me, like really, really baffling when they switched all this stuff around. Expect to see soon new facial animations, improved grouping, fixes to player separation issues. Those are things we're supposed to expect soon. So maybe update 5, update 4, kind of stuff like that. It's I didn't think the facial animations would come in this soon. It's kind of weird. Now expect to see in a while, which may be in like update 6, 7. Imperial City in the champion system, and expect to see later, which could mean the start of next year, justice system and crafting. I don't know. I kind of assume that the justice system and would be up in the expect to see in a while, and Imperial City and would be up there in expect to see soon, and facial animations would be much later. But the way that describing it is, it's the other way around, because during the QuakeCon presentation, I don't know about you guys, but when I listened to the facial animation guy, he was least certain, I guess I should say. Like, I got a vibe that he was least certain about his section, going, yeah, it's kind of ready, but there's a lot to do, so it may be a while. But now, from what they're telling us, that's probably going to come up first. Deltia, what do you think about this little list?
I'm glad that's the priority. I think, like what we talked about the other day, a quality life patch, then some content. Quality life, some content. So for me, you got Dragon Star Arena to play with, so do some improved grouping, do some other crap, good. Look at the champion system and or, something like that with Imperial City, good. I think they need to take a long, long time with spellcrafting. Let that simmer, test it. That will break the game. So if that's the further away that can be, the better. I'm more happy I am. Facial animations, like really? Like facial animations? I don't see why that's important to have right now. Get ready to drink, everyone. My character's bug, and I can't swing. So, but yeah, I think they're on the right track. Just take a long time with the things that need development, because if it can be game-breaking, don't screw it up. And spellcrafting could be game-breaking. Removing soft caps could be game-breaking. And it's going to take a bunch of patches to get caught up once they do release that stuff. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I was excited. I actually like the facial animations. I'm excited for it. I think it'll add a lot more life to the game.
Imperial City, I'm ecstatic for that.
Me too. I love Darkness Falls in Dark Age of Camelot, and this is essentially Darkness Falls in Tamriel, so everything is identical. So that's going to be so much fun. But I kind of assumed like that would be sooner than later. Like the whole way they have this set up, my internal timeline is completely skewed from this. Based on this, I could guesstimate that the justice system and spellcrafting are not going to be in prior to the release of consoles, because expect to see later from that. They're saying end of the year and beyond. So this could be the beginning of next year, and we're supposed to get consoles by the end of this.
I think that's good, though. I think that's reasonable, because you got to give the console something to look forward to, too. Don't release it all at once. I mean, that's a business model, right? You always want to keep your customer wanting something, because if you give it to them all, they're going to move on to something else. So I can see why they do that. They release it on consoles. Hey, 2 months from now, we're going to have this. Get your character to max level so you can do it. Perfect business plan.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's just kind of... I think it would have been a nice boon to have Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood.
Well, I want it. Believe me, I want it. I'm just saying.
Prior to console release.
Yeah. It's business.
But I don't think that's going to happen now. Oh, well. All right. Well, that is our Elder Scrolls discussion. Does anyone have anything they want to sum up here? Deltia, go ahead and sum up your thoughts for the road ahead.
Well, I think they're doing the right thing. They're just delivering content like they said in the pace. They're doing kind of a quality of life, fixing stuff that makes it more fun to game. I'm really enjoying the game still. Some things I'm not too excited about, but it's not my game. It's everyone's game. So, some people might like what they're doing. But I don't think they're going to break anything. And if they do, I have confidence in this development team that they'll fix it. And so that's why I'm willing to stick with it. I love the game. It's so immersive. It's just so fun. And then I will say, I've gotten a lot of people from this podcast and other ones in my guild now. I'm talking. And this game attracts a different type of gamer. I love it. It's a more mature, fun environment where there's not really a lot of stress on you have to be the best Sorc ever, and you have to run this spec, and you have to do this. It's not like that. I mean, maybe it is for people that do trials, but I'm not treating this like a job. And I really think the development is geared towards that, making it fun and in a big environment where it feels like a world instead of everything's just instanced.
Right. Okay. Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next section, which is our Tales section. So, Deltia, you get to talk again.
Oh,
Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in Tamriel this week.
You want me to talk again? I think the people are tired of me rambling on. Well, I've been playing Templar. I'm going to finish my Nightblade guide. So I was playing 3 or 4 days hardcore. Got my one-shot Willy build almost done. And then I'm going to need to do a couple other things. So I've been researching a PvP build and like what the best trial people are doing for high DPS. So I'm kind of working on that. The problem is basically some of the abilities take 2 different specs. So I'm going to have to respec a lot. But otherwise, I'm like, I'm going to try this dang Templar that I always ramble on about. And so I'm on him right now. I call him the Grey Warden. And he's just a lot of fun. At first, it is not easy. Basically, the Templar is a group character. If you're soloing, not so much fun, not so easy. If you're grouped up, it's a blast. You have so much group utility that everyone around you is just going to be happy that you're there, whether you're providing luminous shards for stamina, magic, necrotic orb if you get it. It's awesome. The thing that I really like about it, I'm running two-handed, which is just my favorite. I love the abilities. I like the skills. The animations are fun. And stamina regeneration builds on Templars are pretty viable as far as DPS goes. I'm pulling 405 DPS at level, 23? So that's not bad. There are some flaws with it, but what I've been doing, just doing what I usually do, going killing group bosses. I went out to Cyrodiil, got almost all the Sky Shards except 2. So I have tons of skill points early on. That really helps low-level characters, so you can get the abilities, get them morphed, and then start working on your passives and become really strong. So that's what I recommend other newer players do. And then I got Repentance. That ability is awesome. You feel like a Templar, like you're killing stuff, you're stealing the soul, you're just cleaving through stuff. It's starting to be really fun. I'm enjoying it. Is it going to replace my Dragon Knight? Probably not, but I'm learning all the classes as well. I'm waiting on my friends to get to endgame and kind of figure out what we want to do. So that's what I've been doing, just hanging out and chat and running with people from the show or other various things, and just having a lot of fun. Taking it. I turned into a filthy casual. I made a blog post about what it's like going from super hardcore PvP to kind of being a casual, and I really like the change. It's different, but there is no pressure to be the best, and if I want to go do something hardcore, I have the option, but it's not a job. I don't have to come on the certain time, and we have to run the certain spec, and everyone has to be there, and we yell at each other if we're not doing good. None of that. This game's not that for me. It's just fun. People that want the same thing I do out of the game, just to have fun and enjoy it and be in the environment. You could put your headphones off, no music, and you are in this game. I've never felt like that except for Mass Effect, where you're just like in the game. So that's been a lot of fun. I was going to say something else. Oh, another thing I've been doing, kind of unrelated to this, but I've been doing a video series, interview with a video gamer. I'm looking for more people, whether you're Elder Scrolls fan, Star Wars, whatever, just a gamer in general. Why gaming is important to you. So if you want to do something like that, get with me after game, in-game at Deltia or whatever. So I'm looking for more people to interview and talk about gaming. But other than that, just putting around on my Templar. Next week I'm going hardcore on my Nightblade. Probably won't get to VR12, but I'm going to finish Cadwell's Silver, get my guide done with 3 builds. And yeah, a lot of Nightblade.
Excellent. And I'm glad you're actually enjoying the Templar a lot. And after you got Repentance, I had to do it like... I actually logged off the game because I was done playing, and then you tweeted me about Repentance, so I had to log back in, grab Repentance, and I played with it for like 20 minutes.
So much fun.
It is a lot of fun.
You feel powerful with it. Like, because I'm about to die, oh, I killed someone, boom, body. It costs nothing. So it's a really interesting dynamic. It's an interesting build for people who want to try something new.
Right, and we were talking a little bit earlier about this. One of the tricks that people are doing with the Undaunted? What is it? It's the spider one?
Yeah, I'll go on the stream, but it's the Undaunted class skill line, and it's the trapping webs. If you morph it, it summons like 2 or 3 more spider things. And then basically those count as corpses. So it's kind of like a Magicka for stamina trade. It's kind of like your equilibrium.
That's actually kind of neat. I really want to try that out and see if I can keep stamina going in like a VR dungeon to spam. That would be really great. And of course, I mean, Repentance passively increases your stamina and health regen by like an extra 15% right off the bat. So that's... I actually noticed a fairly big difference as soon as I popped it on my bar just from regeneration. Just from that alone. I was like, wow, my bar's actually picking up pretty fast. You know, at this rate, essentially what I could do is, you know, spam all my stamina out, wait for it to regen, and use Magicka abilities up until then. By the time I'm out of Magicka, my stamina will be full again. It was pretty neat.
Yeah.
So, I like it. All right, anything else you want to say for your tale?
No, I know you guys do a little differently, but I enjoy the game. Even the stories, like, playing the story, now this is my 4th time playing the story. Every time I pick up something a little different, especially the main stories, like, and now I'm working on the Ebonheart Pact on my Nightblade, and I kind of rushed through on Deltia just because I wanted to get to endgame. It's nice sitting back and listening to the stories. It's like, wow, that is pretty cool. So I pick up something new every time. It's just this game has such a depth to it.
I think we do the reverse of you, because like you'll see if you watch on our Tales of Tamriel YouTube page, I have a little Let's Play that I play on my Nightblade, and I rush through quests on that because I've already done it. I take it slow the first time to get all the story, and the next time I rush through, just because that's how I am. I'm kind of a completionist on my main, where I search out every little nook and cranny, and then the next characters I just plow through. So, anyway, all right, that's awesome. So it's time for us, and we actually got a fairly good amount of game time in. We kind of put our nose to the grindstone, as it were, and really plowed through Glenumbra. We actually finished all of Glenumbra, which was pretty awesome. Now we're almost VR3, and TS Fangirl says she loves the story quests in the game. They really are good. They really are good. I like them a lot. But first off, what has changed on your character, Thais? What have you done different?
I totally up my character. That's one thing.
Okay.
She's completely ruined at the moment.
How did you mess up your character?
Well, the one skill that a couple people actually suggested that I get.
Is that critical surge?
It's surge. Yes, it's surge. That is what a couple people have suggested, and now it is on my bar, and I really enjoy it. And I did when it only cost, I think when it was 5 gold per. I did reset all of my points, and I put it into surge, and then finally, days later, I was able to get a hold of Deltia and ask him, what morph should I have gotten? Well, I got the wrong morph. So now instead of, what was the right one?
Critical surge.
Okay, I got power surge. So that I kind of messed up. I also messed up, and I was trying to create armor last night for about an hour and a half, and then I got really frustrated. So I put points into crafting. I used 4 points into my clothing. What is it?
Clothing, yeah, it's clothing.
Okay, clothing. 4 points into that, and then I got so fed up, I dismantled everything that I made, so I wasted all those points and skills that I'm probably not going to use now. But on a good note, I have been using my daggers. My dual wielding is now up to 27, and I've been trusting Ag with my life because now I don't have my healing staff, which means I'm dying just as much because Ag is a horrible healer. Just putting that out there.
Just so you know, I never die, but
yeah, you never die. That's yes.
I heal myself perfectly. Others, it's hit or miss.
When I have my daggers out, I think I found a really good build for my daggers.
You should look at Deltia's plug, his lightning whirlwind build for sorcerer. Cough, cough, plug.
Critical
I
surge.
got it right, Deltia. Right?
Lightning tornado, but I wasn't going to correct it.
Oh, I don't care. I just want to make sure. So lightning tornado, I hear, is a really great build.
Critical
Maybe you should
surge.
check that out.
Critical surge, cough, cough.
Yeah,
Critical
well,
surge.
the only problem is I don't have the money to fork over to respec
Hey,
again.
all I'm gonna say is you picked up a rank 6 purple recipe for like that increase your health, stamina, magicka by X amount. You can sell that for like 50k.
Yeah, but I'm not good at selling. I don't know how to sell it.
Hawk it. Go.
Give it to me. I'll sell it for you.
Well, see, that would be fantastic. That I could do. If I could find the stuff and then give it to someone else to sell, that would be amazing. So we might have to talk that out there, Deltia.
Yeah, because you got rank 6 that does all the stats by a large amount for like 2 hours. That thing sells for like 50k. Easy.
Alright, I might have
so
to...
So you're potentially sitting on a large amount of money. Large amount.
And then I might be able to respec.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty bad. Although, when I have my destruction staff going, the build that I have now is actually really, really nice. My number 1 key is that fire explosion. I'm really bad at remembering skill names.
Impulse, I think.
Impulse, thank you. My second skill is that lightning bolt that attacks them.
I think that's a sorcerer ability. That's
Okay.
like your execute.
Awesome. It just, shocks them right in the top of their head. Okay.
The execute sorcerer ability. It does more damage when they get Mage's Fury.
Oh, thank you. See, my third one is where I lay the Daedric ruins on the ground to trap people, so I can run away. So that's a good one. And then my fourth one is that surge, which is the incorrect surge, but there we go. And then 5 is Mage's Light. I remembered one of them. So that build is working really, really well for me.
Good. Just so you know, before you respec, I would wait till 1.4 drops, because in all reality, they may do another one of those all respecs are 1 gold per point again. Hopefully they keep that up, where I would love if they did that when every patch drops, they could give you a week of 1 gold respecs.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I would wait until then, because they said they kind of want to do that anytime massive changes happen, and I think they might happen. So I would wait till 1.4, which technically might only be a month away.
Because I really messed up. Alright, so how about you? Did you change anything with your character?
Someone went by on a chopper. I cannot wait till it snows and the bikes are gone. I do. I just want to sit out there with one of those, those what the police use, with those rolls of tape with the spikes on it, and just throw it out there on a Sunday. Anyway, my crazy serial killer.
Caltrops?
Yeah, caltrops would be great. But I think it's something else. But yes, I want caltrops to throw out on the road. Okay, for my character, actually, I've been leveling up my resto staff, which you haven't really experienced much because I don't heal you that often. But I do heal myself, and it is a lot of fun. Yes, I just don't heal you that often. If anyone's been following my blog post on talesoftamriel.com, you've seen some renditions to my sword build. That's what I've been currently running, so I'm not going to go into it in great depth because we've done that before. But if you're interested to see exactly what I'm running, you can go out there and check it out. Now, I've made some changes since that build went out. Specifically, I've removed the volcanic rune from my melee bar, and I moved it over to my range bar. That's where my CC is going to be, and I actually replaced that with repentance because dear heaven above, repentance. So now I'm pretty much running greatsword on my main bar, and you saw me the other day ripping through stuff. I switched to my greatsword, and I was wrecking face. Critical charge, puncturing strike, back up, critical charge again, execute. It dies, I hit repentance, get all my stuff back, charge to the next enemy. I was jumping I think they was following me around in Cath Bedraud, the cemetery. She's like, "Where'd you go?" I said, "Just follow the trail of corpses.
Trail of dead bodies.
Just follow the dead bodies. That's where I'm at."
So he's killing everything in seconds, and I say to him, "Oh yeah, well with my new build, I bet I can do that too." So I put on my Mage's Light, and I turned on my surge, and I set down my Daedric runes, because when they explode, they do a lot of damage, and I try and pull people to me, and every mob I aggroed ran in the other direction.
Because she pulled range mobs, so she was trying to beat me in how fast she could kill it, and they all ran away.
So needless to say, it didn't work very well.
And it was funny. She's like, "Yeah, well, I would have been able to beat you if they would have stand still." I'm like, "Yeah, and I bet you'd be able to beat me if, they helped out a little bit. Like maybe if they stabbed themselves a little bit before you got there, maybe that would help."
It would have.
I was making
I
fun
might
of
have
her.
won.
It was fun. But yeah, so that's my current character, and I have changed my build around with the armor. I am wearing 5 pieces of medium for all the crit and all that awesome stuff. And I'm still kind of bouncing around between the heavy armor and the magicka, because with repentance, I've kind of given up on the light armor a little bit, because I like the heavy armor benefits. The extra healing does improve the damage from punctured sweep, which is what I've been using as my quasi heal, because it heals for the amount of damage you do. And if anyone knows what punctured sweep is, it's that little spear jab ability, which every time you hits 4 times, it heals you for that amount. Currently at VR 2, it hits for anywhere from 100 to 200 damage per hit, not including criticals. So I can get a 500 to 800 heal from that alone. That's almost as powerful as one of my Honor the Deads. And I'm doing damage to the enemy at the same time. That doesn't even include if I crit. So if my crit up higher, I could potentially have closer to a 700 to 900 heal anytime I hit puncturing strikes. So as long as I have Magicka and the enemies in melee range, I don't seem to have any issue whatsoever keeping myself alive. So that's why I moved the heal and I moved the volcanic runes to my other bar. Because if at any point in time I need to CC, I'll switch to a ranged option. I can throw down volcanic rune for the CC. I can, do my heals, stuff like that on my range bar rather. Because to be honest, if I need to heal to the point where I have to like really heal, I'll want to get away from the boss anyway. So my puncturing strikes probably won't be enough, and I'll want to roll out of the way and do my heals. So that's where I'm currently going. But that's my character now. I'm still playing with a little bit. I was really hoping to get on the PTS so that I could deck myself out in multiple sets of armor to see which one works best, whether or not I want the 2 pieces of light or if I'd rather have the 2 pieces of heavy for the extra heal and the passive weapon damage resistance. But that's my character change now. Now, we went ahead and we started picking up where we left off last week, where we left off at Aldcroft fighting the werewolves. Remember our mage friend who, while trying to capture werewolves, was better at killing them than actually capturing them. Now, we went into the Glenumbra Moors. Final battle against the Alessians took place, and apparently Falchu was originally a general of the Alessian armies when they marched through and were trying to take over. Now, for those who are not lore nuts, and I feel like I want to tell you this, the Alessians originally were a slave revolt against the Aliads and try to free the elves. Now, Alessia led that, and he was seen almost as like a Joan of Arc, a Messiah character. Now, this happened several hundred years later. Alessia, at this point in time, has already passed on. The Alessian Order was a group of fanatical knights who formed up using Alessia as their banner, and believed they wanted to purge all elven influence from Tamrielic history, including religion and stuff like that. So when they marched up into High Rock, this was a assault against the Jareni elves that were still around, and that's where this all was. Sorry, I'm a lore nut. I like talking lore.
No, I'm just laughing because I don't like elves. So.
Oh, yeah, all the elves.
Yep.
But, yeah, it was kind of neat because when we went there, like, there were all these restless spirits and stuff of that nature, and we had to go and free them. We actually had to go back in time and find out how they killed Falchu to begin with. Thais, do you remember this story?
I don't remember the whole story, but I remember what happened because we were mentioning it in guild chat.
Here's a funny thing. You go back in time and you find a spirit who you have to help. You take the place of the nameless hero who actually slew Falchu originally in the first era. And it's kind of neat because you meet his wife, I guess.
And the wife says he made the ultimate sacrifice in order to be able to find Falchu's weakness. And she also warned you that when you go in the past, you have to be careful with your choices because you can change things. So you're told about, he made this ultimate sacrifice, and it was awesome going back in time. So then we're back in time and we're living in his footsteps and everything's going well, and then we meet his wife. And, when she was younger, she's not dead, obviously. And the time comes when you have to go to attack Falchu. Well, something happens, and your wife gets captured. And would you like to continue this?
Oh, keep going.
Your wife gets captured. So now we have a choice to make to whether we go with the knights to go and attack Falchu or we go and save the wife. In my head, I know in my head that the hard choice he had to make was he chose to go with his knights and to leave his wife behind. Well, unfortunately, we chose to go save his wife. And when we did that, we changed the whole timeline from that fight. When we come back to the present, we're not talking to men anymore. We're talking to his wife's descendants, and
like it was his great granddaughter or something weird like that, great granddaughter.
And Ag and I are a little we're a little weirded out because
we had a little a butterfly effect moment going, oh, we changed the past
because we really changed history. And I said to him, you know, we probably did not make the right choice. I think we were supposed to let her die.
It was a really interesting quest. It really was. It's kind of neat. TS Fangirl says everyone had a gender change. It's kind of like one of those really weird gender swap pictures, like Alice in Wonderland if she was a boy kind of thing.
Which is actually what happened, because when you pop up, your character first goes, wait, you're a woman? And the NPC goes, of course I'm a woman?
So now the next thing we did was like I said, we